The sentiment here is mixed. I feel very optimistic about the Green Bay Packers, their ability to walk out of there on the road, down some of their key players with a win. I feel like they will continue to ascend. But Gabe is a little more suspect. He's a little more like, there were too many things that they need to improve, and he doesn't feel like those should be ignored. Where do you land this morning?
Probably somewhere in the middle, but I would say this. I think when you win a game that you didn't play necessarily great, it can be a sign of that you're just masking problems, or it can be a sign that you're good enough to win a game when you didn't play your best and that you will play better. I still think this football team is going to be pretty good. I'm not ready to, I know they can't get pressure on the quarterback. I know their run defense at times still isn't very good. And I know offensively they haven't been, necessarily hitting on all cylinders. But I still think they're going to be a pretty good football team, and I think they're going to be a team that evolves, as the season goes along. And look, let's face it. Yesterday they didn't have Romeo Doubs, who I guess I would have said the other day was either their first or second receiver. They didn't have Christian Watson, who was either their second or third receiver. They didn't have Luke Musgrave. Now maybe it doesn't matter anymore with the emergence of Tucker Kraft. But they were missing some guys. They didn't have 𝘾𝙃𝙀𝙀. I mean, those are guys who are really, really good football players that you didn't have, and you still won a game. I realize you had to hang on at the end, but you still won a game on the road. That's not easy to do.
You brought up Romeo Doubs. Let's dive into that. How surprised were you when you saw the 𝘾𝙀𝙀 report that the reason he missed practice Thursday and Friday was because he was unhappy with his role in the offense in the month of September?
Well, I mean, borderline shocked because, and I'm going to try to find the quote real quick, but this is the guy when we talked to him all offseason, and really with all these receivers, they all said it doesn't matter who the number one receiver is. It doesn't matter if this guy gets the ball more than I do. We're all in it for each other. The quote Gabe from training camp was from Romeo Doubs. There's a lot of talent in our room. I think it's selfish on my end to have goals because if I come up short, I'm not thinking about the team. I'm thinking about myself. Okay? What changed from, I think that was about August 1st till this week? That's what I'd really like to know. And we don't know. We still haven't talked to Romeo. I asked Jaden Reed about it in the locker room, and he said that I talked to Romeo. He's doing fine, but that's all he's going to say. I thought the really interesting quote, and we're kind of reading between the lines here, was Matt LaFleur saying, "I'm really looking forward to the conversation with Romeo tomorrow," meaning today, which tells me one thing. He hadn't had a conversation with him, right? He didn't even talk to the guy. I think Romeo's probably, in my opinion, getting some bad advice. I'm not sure this is the right way to go about it. John Anderson brought this up yesterday on the pregame show that we started talking about, I think it was last Monday in Matt LaFleur's press conference. But remember that interception where it looked like Luke Musgrave was in the wrong place and he's going to Doubs?
Yeah.
Well, Matt LaFleur explained to us last Monday that Romeo Doubs was in the wrong place. And is it possible that Romeo didn't like being called out in that Monday press conference last week? And that's sort of what started this whole thing rolling? I don't know that, but if it is, that's surprisingly thin skin.
Well, the other thing that you got to turn on your microphone.
Did you think it was Romeo Doubs' fault, or did you think it was someone else's fault on that play?
Early when watching it, I think we all thought it was Musgrave's fault
because what I thought.
Because Jordan Love said I was going to Romeo Doubs, if I'm not mistaken. But Matt LaFleur laid it out clearly last Monday that the route was supposed to have gone a different way. Romeo was supposed to take it a different way.
So the other thing I found interesting yesterday with LaFleur talking about it is he started with, I can't wait for that conversation. We're going to be able to work this out. But then halfway through, he says, I hope we work this out. Yeah. Is this situation salvageable?
I think it is. I don't think it's quite the same as the 𝘾𝙃𝙀𝙀 thing, but I think that was salvaged. I will say this, I've covered this team a long time, Gabe, and these might be the first 2 in-season suspensions for disciplinary things that I've been around. Maybe that's just players are different now. But for 25 years, I've never seen anything like this, and now we have it twice in 2 years.
Do you think they work it out? Do they think you come together? Is he going to be practicing on Wednesday?
I would be stunned if he's not. I really would be. I think he works it out, but he's also going to have to regain, the trust of guys. I mean, again, going back to my conversation with Jayden Reed yesterday, I think Tom Silverstein and I were there talking to him, and Tom asked him, did you guys kind of rally around this as a receiver group? And he said, absolutely. Those guys probably weren't happy about it. They probably wanted to show Romeo, you want to sit out? Well, I'll have a good game, or we'll win the game. So, not that Jayden was being anti-Romeo, but he's a prideful guy, and they want to show that they can do this without those guys, without him, without Christian Watson.
Rob Demovsky hanging out with Jen, Gabe, and Chewy here as he does each and every Monday during the football season. We were talking about Tucker Kraft a few moments ago. What do you make of his ascension? I loved that Matt LaFleur said he loves the game. He loves football. That to us is like the difference maker. When you love it, you embrace the grind. You embrace what it takes to become a contributor, a productive member of the offense. What do you make of his ascension? And could he be, again, I said this to Gabe earlier, could he end up being the number one target by the end of the season for this team?
Well, I'll take the second part first. Right now, he's on pace for 54 catches. Jayden Reed's on pace for 71. So there's a big difference there. I do think the record, the single season record for tight ends by a Packer, or receptions by a Packers tight end, is 61. I do believe that's attainable. Actually, my story from the game last night that's up now on ESPN.com is all about Tucker Kraft. And I remember, I think I said it on Wildy's show a couple of weeks ago. I thought Tucker Kraft was a star in the making, and I say that both for his, his production, but also his personality. Like, this guy's got a little bit of a. Not saying he's going to be going out and partying in the like Gronkowski or anything, but he's got a little bit of that, sort of. Hey, I know I'm pretty good. I'm a tough guy. Quiet confidence. Actually, not even that quiet. It's a confidence about himself. And the lead of my story this morning is about Tucker Kraft telling us a couple weeks ago. He's like, I have one rule, and that's never get tackled by a defensive back in the open field. Never. And on that touchdown yesterday, the 66-yarder, he stiff armed 24 and then kind of just cast aside. I think it was 37. And to me, that's like Tucker Kraft's MO in a nutshell. And it may sound, simplistic. Yeah, tight end shouldn't get tackled by a DB, but there's a lot of them that get brought down by defensive backs, and Tucker Kraft is not going to be that guy. And I mean, just think about this. 6 years ago, he was playing 9-man football in Timberlake, South Dakota. And now he's potentially a star, an NFL star in the making. I do think, though, Jen, that if he keeps this up, he really will be one of those nationally known star tight ends, because he's got his press conferences, his sessions with us are he's not like bombastic or anything, but he says things that make you go, okay, this guy's confident in himself, and he's got some personality.
Rob, what's up with these Favre-esque interceptions?
Ooh, that is a great way to describe that sidearm thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember, Gabe, did Rodgers, I know he didn't do much of that, when he got to be established, but did he have any of those goofy ones early on? I don't think he did, because I remember him, specifically saying, I learned the good from Brett and I learned what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
From Brett.
Well, his last two interceptions, Rob, between just chucking it up in the end zone in the second half last week and now this one, I mean, those are more Favre than Rodgers.
Yeah. And especially, go back to the one last week. I mean, they had downs to play with, right?
Yeah.
After that one. That's the one. And, look, I understand, he probably felt like he was going to get shoved out of the end zone and didn't want to take a safety, right? That's probably what his thinking. You don't want to be the quarterback that goes out of the back of the end zone. Not like this wasn't like Dan Orlovsky just stepping out of the back of the end zone. And I love Dan, but you don't want to be that quarterback that just goes out of the back of the end zone and gives up 2 points. But it turns out that, that would have been better than the 6. That would have been a 4-point one for the good side had that happen. So I get why he tried to throw, but it's not the throw. It's not the way to do it.